Woo Asylum! Alright, so let's start our Asylum map breakdown. After this map breakdown, I'm going to be doing the two Rise of Iron maps that are coming, or three for PlayStation, just because they're new, and I'm sure people want to know more about those than the older maps. This week's we're doing Asylum, and so I got Alpha Spawn again, obviously because it's a private match, and I didn't switch my team, but again, Alpha Spawn is the stronger spawn. This is probably one of the strongest spots to defend on the map. Because you really don't have to cover these two main angles. You can cut off the lower one if need be, so you really just have these two. Whereas if you go to C, you're kind of in a pretty low ground situation where you are just kind of in a room. I believe you spawn back here. But in this spawn, all you really have to cover yourself is this trash can, but you have all this space to be shot from, flanked from. Then you have these two windows because you can, even unless you're just crouching here, you can still be hit from those two. But ideally you don't want to crouch too much, just because Destiny is a game about mobility, and you want to keep your mobility high as much as possible. Obviously you want to crouch every now and then to duck and cover. So as far as pushes into the map, generally when I go in, I used to go through here, and first off, I'm going to be speaking as a sniper. So even as a sniper, I would run through here. I would never challenge through this doorway. I would always run around to this left side and try and get an angle here, because as a sniper, you have better angles, and you have better cover here, rather than just standing in this open doorway where you have that entire space to be hit from. Whereas if you're here, you only have these two spots, but I mean, ideally you don't want to be staying in the middle of a doorway anyways. You always want to be cutting off your angles and trying to pick the strongest spots that suit you best. But this top area is the part of the map you want to control. Generally in all maps you want to be controlling mid-map, just because you have easy access to basically everywhere, and the enemy team wants to be controlling mid-map, or the highest spot on the map if it's not mid-map. This is why B on Anomaly was the strongest point, or was the the contested point actually, as opposed to the strongest point. It's the point that you want to hold, and the point that you can hold down for as long as possible. That is the point of any crucial match, is to control these strong spots on the map. So ideally you want to push in here, control it, and just kind of sit here, for lack of a better term, because this map does move so fast, so it is a viable option to essentially just sit up in B and control it. The strongest spots to be on B are really kind of selective, so if the enemy's pushing from this side, I generally, as a sniper, want to be up here and looking up just because of this little height advantage. Then if not there, then I'll push down, maybe get a quick peek in here. But you don't really want to sit in this area too long just because it's so enclosed. And it kind of really limits your places where you can escape, because you always have to be running to one side or the other, rather than straight out this way or straight out this way, obviously, because you have walls. Generally, I just avoid that little box overall, at least when I'm sniping. And if you're on the other side, most people will contest here and try and watch the door from here, but I generally find myself getting a better angle through here, because you can generally catch people transitioning through that doorway, and they don't expect you to be looking all the way over here into this little angle. This is probably one of my favorite places to stand if I'm defending from this side. And yeah, those are the main two. And generally, if you kill an enemy on one side, one or two of them will spawn middle bottom. So one of the best spots to be for that is up here, because if you're in bottom middle, let me just show you their angle, and you're looking up, like let's say here, I don't know why, I mean it looks like it'll be obvious because they're just standing on top of that box, but I find myself more often than not looking just at the railings as opposed to up in that little corner, even though it is technically maybe a little bit more exposed, just because you're at a higher advantage or higher angle. Most people expect you to be down there as opposed to up here. I definitely wouldn't just sit up here, obviously, because you're just like pretty exposed, but just use the height to your advantage briefly. If you miss your shot, then hop down, reposition, and take another shot, or do whatever the situation demands of you. In terms of the other part of this middle section, the lower area, as a sniper, I would tend to avoid it unless you really want to get a unique angle down on these guys. But again, most people are going to be pushing up to the top, so even if you are down here, they'll usually be wanting to go up there, and you might just totally miss them, then you'll be at disadvantage down there. So the other approach I sometimes take from A side when spawning there is I will sometimes run down here and kind of go through and through cafe. Again, get an angle up on the people that are running through. You can get to here from A spawn at about a little bit of a faster rate than they can pass through that doorway. So if you get here early enough, you can sometimes get some quick and easy kills right off the bat on enemies pushing through, because literally nobody ever expects you to be down here getting an angle on them up in there. This works extremely well for trials also. Again, if you're playing trials though, I wouldn't repeat angles as much as possible. You can have like a kind of a rotation that you pick from of 3 angles that you go to generally right off the bat as an opener, but I would not pick the same angles every time unless it's just like totally working for you. You can try it a second time, but generally if it's a somewhat decent player, they will predict you being there, or they'll at least check it at the very least. So let me go back over to C and tell you my angles of approach from that side. So when spawning on C, the majority of players will want to run up here, and this is honestly probably one of the best moves. The only issue with this move is that you're going to get here at roughly the same time they are. This is going to be an ultra contested point at the beginning of the match. It can get very hectic. You can die here pretty easily just by getting unlucky sometimes, or actually most of the time, just because you are pushing into the same area at the same time. So a lot of things can happen that are really under your not within your control. So just be aware of that. A lot of people like to do this. It's not necessarily a bad move. It's just a risky one. But not all risky moves are bad moves. So just be aware that that is what's most likely going to happen. Again, I would highly avoid doing an initial approach from the lower side. If you are going to, I would send one guy down here. I just wouldn't send your whole team down here, just because you'll put your entire team at a disadvantage as opposed to one guy as more of a surprise attacker. So yeah. My other approach from C that I would take is again on the lower side, as I kind of took with A, except I will generally always run down to bottom lake. That's just what I call this area, even though it's not really a lake, it's just like a flooded train station, but whatever. So I will sometimes run down to bottom lake and kind of do the same thing. I'll try and get a crispy initial snipe on guys running through. It works a lot better off of A side just because you can get to that little doorway much faster than you can from C and run all the way over to here. It's just a little bit slower, but it works some of the time. And then if you're down here, I would generally call you the surprise attacker. Sometimes you can pop up, get a few shots, or go down through the bottom and then kind of do the same thing. Even if you're sniping, just make sure your hand cannon shot is on point, or your primary shot is on point if you're sniping. So let's talk about this as shotgunners, since I've already kind of covered the A and C approaches. So and also I'm using Maya just so I can get around the map faster. I would normally use a hand cannon on this map. Sometimes the last word, sometimes like an ASYLUM, depending on what I'm doing. So if you're a shotgunner, starting from A side, generally you want to be as aggressive as possible on your initial approach. Again, you can go low, but I wouldn't send your whole team low. But it's kind of the same initial thing, except on your approach, do not just stand here and try and get primary shots off. I mean, you can try it. This all really depends on the flow of the map currently, because some people, if they're really sniper-heavy teams, just like to sit there. Generally, I like to hop over and just get some quick shotgun kills, maybe 2, and then take down the last guy who's inevitably sitting on the stairs, or he usually is. The entire team could definitely push him here, but it's from my experience, it happens maybe 75% of the time that one guy is just sitting back there, or he's playing a little more passively, at the very least sitting in that room. If you're on the low approach, definitely run through here. Try not to go around and go through this door, and just kind of do your best to run up the stairs and kind of do the same thing, jump on the other side and get some shotgun kills. And if you're doing a different approach from A on the outside lower side, you can definitely sideswipe them. I would just watch your angles here, just to be safe, and then you can hop up, kind of do the same thing. This map is definitely a very shotgun favoring, as you can tell, very close quarters. Stick to the hallways, and even though I said I wouldn't really stand here as a sniper, you can definitely use this as a transitioning space as a shotgunner, and just kind of pass through it, get some quick kills on the enemy from either side, because it does provide so much cover in terms of running through. Again though, I just definitely wouldn't sit here if possible, because you just have so much space you can be hit from. It's basically a straight line onto you. So yeah. And it's pretty much the same thing from Seaside. Just do the same low or high approach. If you are approaching from a Seaside, you don't have that other doorway over there. As a shotgun, you really have this only way in here. Again, why Seaside is less advantageous from A. You have less approach options. So a lot of the time, these boxes are really pivotal in your defensive pushes from C or offensive pushes. So you really want to transition around these and just kind of do your best to stick to the outsides, even as a shotgunner, and try and just wipe out their more passive players or their other shotgunners as quickly and efficiently as you can. The initial approach on this map here is all about efficiency in terms of wiping out the enemy and just doing it as fast as possible, because if you take too long in this space on your engagements, anything can happen, no matter how good of a player you are. Just because it's so close quarters, just some random shit can happen, and you can really get screwed over. It's very hard to control that space for an extended period of time in terms of, or an extended gunfight. In terms of this lower side, if you're a sniper, this is probably the strongest spot on this lower side top platform, because you can really cover these angles as pretty efficiently and very unexpectedly. Generally, if you're running through, some players, like I sometimes like to hop on top of these boxes and get some shots in there, but most players will run around and just have no idea that you're up there, because this tree covers so much of their angle on you, whereas you have such a great angle on them that the tree basically doesn't cover it all, at least on their approach. And in terms of lower C, it's kind of the same thing. They have a little bit of a better angle on you, and it's a little bit less obvious or less of a surprise attack, but you do have the ability to jump up, get a shotgun kill, or get some quick shots on them on their approach if you're a sniper. So that's kind of just how Asylum flows. Those are my basic tips for running the map and places you should be or stand. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And just want me to cover anything more specifically, let me know, because I'm just kind of doing a broad overall understanding. If you guys are struggling with some more specific things, then let me know, and I'll try and do my best to cover those as much as possible in the other map breakdowns. But alright, well, thank you guys for watching. Hope this helped you guys out, and I'll see you guys in the next video.